I'm really excited to start this new series on retro computing for a specific type of computer. Before I tell you about that computer, I want to introduce you to the very first computer I ever owned, the Commodore Vic-20, a device that I had worked all summer mowing yards, took my money from that summer job, went down to the Sears catalog store, placed my order. A month later, it finally arrived along with a data cassette so I could use cassettes to load and save programs. I brought it home. I hooked it up to the big TV in our living room, and then later on, I actually had a smaller black and white TV that I used in my room so that I could continue to work on this so that people could watch TV in the household downstairs. And I spent hours with this device learning how to program, cut my teeth on programming with this device. It was such a great device. And back in the day, I didn't care that it only had 3K of RAM. I mean, that was plenty. That's all I needed to learn. And I remember the very first game I coded was actually, I lived in Kentucky, was a Kentucky Derby game with a little horse that actually had a little animation, and the horse would go across at a random. You would have 3 horses. And then even the backdrop, the Churchill Downs, would scroll at a different rate than the horses would move. It was really cool. I wish I still had it. I can't find that program, but it was really a neat program that used peeks, pokes, and anything you could do to do a game with this device. And I'm not sure about the gambling nature of the game early on, that early in my life. Well, this was the beginning of my Commodore lineage of computers. After this device, I upgraded to a C64 for a very short time. I then upgraded to a Commodore 128, which I love that device. And even later on went from the Commodore 128 to a Commodore Amiga. But along the line, one of the Commodores in the line that I never experienced was this one. This is the Commodore Plus 4. This was purchased on eBay about 8 or 9 months ago. I never had a Commodore Plus 4. I'd always been interested in what this device was, this computer was, what was this integrated software like. So I made the purchase on eBay, and what we're going to do in this next couple of series is, I don't know how many parts it's going to go. We're just going to let it granularly happen. I want to do, first of all, today we're going to open the box. This was listed on eBay as being like new in box. So everything that is in here is supposed to be as if we had received this device when it was brand new. In the next series of videos, we're actually going to take a look at the hardware of the Plus 4. We're going to find out what's unique about it, what's different, what were they trying to do with the Commodore Plus 4, what's the hardware that's inside, and then in other follow-up videos, we're actually going to explore it together. We'll turn it on together for the first time. We'll start our first program. Maybe we'll work through some of the manuals, either on the hardware side or on the integrated application side. We'll learn more about those integrated applications. What were they capable of? And it should just be a fun kind of journey down memory lane for those of you that had one. And for me, taking a 2020 look at a device from the late 1980s. So that's the plan. This video is part 1. This is an open the box. So I hope you enjoy the open the box, and we'll ship it right on over to the open the box right now. Obviously, this box has been through some tough times, even if it is new in box. There was some tape on here. I did cut that to make this a little bit easier today. All disclosure, this has been opened once. Obviously, I've lifted the lid to see what was inside. But by and large, this is supposed to be the experience we would have had if we just purchased the Commodore Plus 4. So let's take a look and see what we have inside. Inside, when we open it, we have the main compartment, and then we have the supplemental compartment with our accessories. Let's go ahead and see what we have here. First of all, we have the, now you can get the 4 most popular software programs in one convenient package. And this is touting the 4 applications that are built into the Plus 4, thus the name Plus 4. We'll be taking a look at that. But the 4 packages are word processing, graphics, spreadsheets, and file management. So again, we'll take a look at that a little bit later. Nice graphic there on the back. Here's software that needs no build-up. We'll take a look at this in detail a little bit later. And again, the other side of that piece. Inside, you would have also received Get the most out of your Commodore computer. If you do send this software registration in, you can get a free Lodestar disk when you subscribe. Man, it sure would be fun to send that in and see what would happen, which I'm sure nothing would happen. The address goes to Commodore Publications in Holmes, Pennsylvania. If anybody owns box 651 in Holmes, Pennsylvania, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you and see if you're still receiving these things in the mail. Also, you get your important warranty information, registration. So I guess this is not your, this is just a free offer for Lodestar magazine. This is the actual warranty registration card. And we would, of course, send this to 1200 Wilson Drive, Westchester, Pennsylvania. Then inside you would have your Commodore Plus 4 user's manual. And most Commodore manuals are very well done to get you started. And part of what we'll be doing is, in this series, is kind of taking a look at the user's manual to see what is involved and how would we today go through this manual and how would it be perceived? Is the manual a decent manual? What can we learn from it? So we'll take a look at that later. We also have an entire manual just for the 4 integrated applications. What's interesting to me is this is almost as thick as the manual for the entire computer. So having the integrated software manual with screenshots, not color, but black and white, I think you're going to need it because my understanding is this is not self-explanatory how to use this software. So we will also likely be taking a look at some of the pages in here, some of the tutorials, and see what's happening there. Also, we have the Commodore Plus 4, which we'll bring out in a minute, but inside here you would find, of course, your power adapter, and it is a big, heavy brick. Oh my goodness. It's got the great Commodore logo right here on the front though. You've got your standard plug, and then you've got this interesting, this is different than the Commodore 64 or VIC-20. This is a square pin connector where the 64 and the VIC-20 were round. So you cannot, while you may be able to use it if you had an adapter, you couldn't just generally plug this into any other Commodore computer. Also inside you have, and this is still in its bubble wrap, you have the RF module, so you can connect this to a TV. We will not be using that, although I do have a TV over here that we could plug it into and use that. We will not be doing that. And then, of course, you have a cable that would connect into the RF into your television if you need to do that in a different way, which is with this. And we won't be using any of these connectors. These are old, archaic. We'll be plugging in directly to a digital capture device or directly to HDMI via an adapter. And that is all that's inside. So let's take a look at the computer. And there you go. There is the Plus 4 computer. You have, and this is a wonderful design. This is part of a series that was designed to be a low-cost alternative to the Commodore 64, and it was designed more for business. It wasn't designed for games. So if you have any thought that you're going to be playing a bunch of games on this, this is not really what this is for. You can, and people have done some amazing things with programming to get some games on here, but that's not primarily what it's for. And you can tell that because here we start to see the more appropriate for business kind of buttons, like the help button over here. We actually have cursor keys for a change. Instead of one key that represents both of these with a shift, you actually have physical cursor keys, which will be a welcome addition. The keyboard is the standard Commodore keyboard, that clacky. If we look more towards the front, over here we have our power light. You can see that. On the right hand side, we have our switch here, but then we also have this fun thing that we've not had on other Commodore computers, our reset button. So that's nice. On the back, and admittedly, I am not sure what all of these ports do because I'm learning along as we go in this video, but definitely power, definitely video, which I have a cable for that we will use to plug into our digital capture device. This is our cassette adapter. I do not have a cassette for the Plus 4. I am not sure, again, we're going to learn together whether I can use a cassette adapter from a VIC-20 or Commodore 64. I do have one of those. You have your user port, you have your cartridge port, which I do not have any cartridges for the Plus 4. I'll have to look for those. This is really what's a bummer for me. These are joystick ports, and they're not the standard 9-pin, so I'm going to need some kind of adapter for that. And then finally, this one is video. Actually, this is video. This is serial. I just realized that. So this is serial. I made a mistake. On the back, this is serial number 1204966. So it's not It's not one of the earlier models by any stretch, but it is probably in that mid-range towards the end of life. And then we have our rubber feet, which thankfully my rubber feet are all intact. And again, I just really like this design. I think it's a great design. There you have it. There is our kind of 2020 unboxing of the Commodore Plus 4. That completes part 1 on the Commodore Plus 4 series. Of course, that was the open the box segment. In the future segments, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the insides. We'll find out what makes this thing tick. We'll also look at the integrated applications by hitting those function keys across the top. We'll look at some peripherals, and I'm anxious to hear your ideas for what I should share during some of those videos. Of course, I'll be looking at those manuals. We'll be opening up those manuals and working through some of those tutorials together. Again, not all of them, but some of them I think will be of interest and will help me learn more about this device, since again, this is the first time I've owned or used one of these devices. So make sure you drop your comments below and make sure you hit subscribe so that you get notifications when I release the next episode in the series. So thank you for watching part 1 of the Commodore Plus 4 series.